I'm going to talk a little bit about other tools that you can use to test some of your hypotheses. The first tools that I'm going to talk about are related to creating explainer videos. I have some links to two tools for creating explainer videos that you can watch. They're embedded within the page about tools for testing. The first one is an explainer video about Powtoon. I want you to watch that just so that you can see yet another explainer video and also see that tool that you could use to create your own explainer video. And then Fiverr. And Fiverr is a great resource for getting up and running as an entrepreneur. You can outsource tasks that you couldn't do yourself through Fiverr. It's a way of connecting to other entrepreneurs who have skills such as web designers, graphic artists, and so forth. I'd like you to watch top 5 types of Fiverr gigs, and I provide that link in the Canvas site. I'm going to click on this link here, 5 best explainer videos, and I'm going to provide some links to these videos that she shows here. But an explainer video is very important in helping to try to explain your business idea to others and see if others are interested. And so basically it can be used on a landing page, and if people watch it and then there's a call to action at the end of the video, you can see if people will sign up to learn more or will click on the link and so forth. There's lots of explainer videos out there. I'll have you watch some of these. Dollar Shave Club, Mint, Airbnb. You can watch all of these. I'll provide the links within the Canvas website. But it's important to think about how you can use an explainer video to test your idea. So basically you try to get people to the explainer video. If they watch the explainer video, you can measure how many people come and then how many follow your call to action, which is sign up on the email list, click to learn more, and whatever your call to action is. So we're going to try to use statistical thinking here to better use the data that we can collect. This isn't a statistics class, but we're using the concepts from statistics to be able to gain insights. And I know all of you have to take a statistics class, so we're going to review one point in particular, which is type 1 and type 2 errors. So I'd like you to watch this Khan Academy Introduction to Type 1 and Type 2 Errors video. I've provided the link on the Canvas site. And here's a figure that kind of represents the concept that we're trying to go for. And type 1 and type 2 errors are like, another name for them is false positives and false negatives. Sal Khan explains, if in reality something is true and you measure it as true, or you perceive it as true, you're right, that you're correct. Or if it's false in reality and you measure or perceive it as false, you're right. But the problem comes when there's a mismatch between reality and your measurement and perception. And you can kind of think about how this matters in your project, that you want to be able to measure and know what is right, and you're going to have sometimes where you're wrong, and sometimes you're going to have false positives, meaning that in the case of what we're working on, in reality there's not interest in your product or service. It's false, but you are measuring that there is interest. True. You got to think about, why would that happen? Well, that might happen because you're selling to just your friends and family. So it looks like there's interest, but in reality, when you try to sell to other people, there wouldn't be interest. So in reality, your hypothesis that there's interest in your product or service, that's false, but when you measure it, it's true. That's a false positive. That's a type 1 error. Another way you can get a type 1 error or a false positive is that you can be selling things for too cheap or giving them away. So if you're selling things really cheaply, people will buy, and then you later plan on raising the prices, then you figure out, oh wait, people aren't as interested in this product or service as I thought they were, because they were buying your cheap or free product. So that's why you've seen some entrepreneurs say that you shouldn't give away your product for free. Now, the other problem is false negatives. In reality, there may be an interest in your product or service, but when you measure or perceive it, you perceive it as false. So you go out and you are trying to sell and you say, oh, I guess people aren't interested in it. Why would you have a false negative? Well, there's a lot of different ways, but one way that you can have a false negative is if you just don't do a very good job. You produce a product or service that's not that good. You can get a false negative that way. People don't want to buy it even though they would if you did a good job. Or maybe you just don't even try. And that's a concern that I have for this class, is sometimes you're perceiving that this product or service won't really work because maybe you haven't put as much effort into it as you need to. So let's think about this again. You think that you should be able to go out and get 20 sales for every 100 sales attempts for your product or service. Label the following as correct: false positive, which is a type 1 error, or false negative, which is a type 2 error. You find that your sales per sales attempt ratio is blank. Conclude that your business idea is blank, and it is actually blank. So, if you find that your sales per sales attempt is less than 20%, you conclude that your business idea is not feasible, and it is actually less than 20%. What does that mean? Are you correct, or are you having a false positive or false negative? Well, in this case, you're right. You thought it would be less than 20%, and it actually is less than 20%, and it's not feasible. Let's try another one. You find that your sales per sales attempt is less than 20%. You conclude that your business idea is not feasible, but the sales per sales attempt should actually be greater than 20% because your execution wasn't that good. That means you're thinking this actually won't work, which is negative, but it actually should work. That's a false negative. Similarly, if you think that the sales per sales attempt should be greater than 20%, you conclude that it's feasible, and it actually is greater than 20%, that's correct. But if you think it should be greater than 20%, conclude that it's feasible, but in reality it's less than 20%, you have this feasible is you have a positive view about the idea, but this is a false view. So this is a false positive. And I already talked to you a little bit about how you'll get the false positive and false negative.